Welcome to the Medovia Menopause Podcast, your trusted source for evidence-based, science-backed information related to menopause. Medovia is dedicated to changing the narrative about menopause by educating, raising awareness, and supporting women in this stage of life, both at home and in the workplace. Visit medovia.com to learn more. I'm one of your hosts, April Haberman, and I'm joined by Kim Hart. We're co-founders of Medovia, certified health coaches, registered yoga teachers, and midlife mamas specializing in menopause. You're listening to another episode of our podcast, where we offer expert guidance for the most transformative stage of life, bringing you real conversations, education, and resources to help you overcome challenges and reach your full potential through midlife. Join us and our special guests each episode as we bring vibrant, fun, and truthful conversation, and let us help you have a deeper understanding of menopause. Today on our show, we're talking all things sleep. We are joined by Lauren Duffel, who is a certified sleep coach and holistic nutritionist. Her experience comes from working in the top naturopathic clinic in Ottawa, Ontario, as a nutritionist and sleep expert. She has been guiding her clients through insomnia since 2018. Additionally, Lauren has a commerce degree with honors in food administration and a yoga teacher certification, which guides the stress reduction techniques she offers. Her passion for better slumber came from her own 5-year experience with insomnia, where she tried everything under the sun to overcome it. Since then, she has been enthusiastically helping others create better sleep using education, stress reduction, and lifestyle coaching. Her approach is holistic, meaning balancing the body and mind, yet completely based in the science of behavioral sleep science. This is a great episode. I know you're going to want to listen in. Lauren gave me some things that I needed to rethink as it relates to sleep. Welcome, Lauren, to the show. It's really exciting to have you here today. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Thank you so much, April, for having me. And I'm looking forward to just giving as much value as I can when it comes to sleep, and especially the struggles that us women have with it.
Yeah, it's a topic. I know we were talking about this before we hopped on here. It's a hot topic, and many women suffer from lack of sleep during the midlife and menopause transition. So, let's start off. I just want to know a little bit more about you. Can you tell our audience about yourself and how did you become a sleep expert?
Yeah, sure. I would never intended to work in the realm of sleep. I had my own 5-year challenge with insomnia in my 20s from about 25 to age 30. And in that time, I learned a lot just through my own experience. But what I ended up doing towards the end of that was leaving my career in hotel and hospitality management. And then I went back to college for nutrition and eventually started working at this naturopathic clinic as a nutritionist. And there I just saw how many people, especially women, had questions about sleep. We also had a professional supplement store. And every single day people came to the store like, I've got a big meeting tomorrow. I haven't been sleeping well. What can I take? And we'd always be like, well, it's not that simple. You know, you can try this supplement, but it's probably not the solution to the issues, right? So those conversations became a little bit more frequent and a little bit longer for me, just because I had so much personal interest in the topic. And then the clinic I worked at was really entrepreneurial, and they're like, look, Lauren, you're having these longer conversations. We see that you have some knowledge in this area. Do you want to just offer lifestyle consultations to do with sleep and see if anyone's interested in it? If so, then you can get more education in the area and we'll just go from there. Like, they were really ahead of the ball, entrepreneurial. This was before sleep was such a hot topic. This was before the pandemic. This was like 7 years ago or so. So There wasn't like the Why We Sleep book and Huberman podcast episodes on sleep and all these, more famous sleep resources.
Right.
So I just felt like there was no one in this space, especially in the community at home. So those lifestyle consultations went really well. And then I eventually did a sleep coaching course, and then I wanted to have more of a science background to that. So then I did a course for cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia.
Mhm.
I don't advertise myself as providing that because I'm not a therapist. I just did the course so that I knew when certain lifestyle interventions are helpful and when they're not, based on the science of sleep. So
Right, right. Such an interesting journey. And I love that you just went into something that you were interested in, especially in a time where there wasn't much information, right? When you're the pioneer, it's exciting, but it's scary as well. So we're happy, and I know our audience is going to be happy to draw from your experience. Um, there are there are a lot of things that cause lack of sleep, and our audience members, for the majority, are going through midlife and that menopause transition, and we know that there are a lot of changes that happen during this time frame. And I'm wondering if you can just start off by giving us a little bit of a historical record here. What causes lack of sleep during midlife and the menopause transition? And then what are some of the symptoms of not sleeping? What are the consequences of not having a good night's sleep?
yeah, so I'll start with the second part of your question because it's the simpler one to answer.
Okay.
And that's that sleeping challenges are trouble falling asleep, trouble staying asleep, or a combination of the two. And it's as simple as that, although it doesn't feel simple when it's happening because wake ups can happen at different times for different durations. You could have some nights where you have trouble falling asleep, some nights where you don't, some nights where you wake up at 4 a.m. and never go back to sleep, other nights where you do go back to sleep. And so it can feel like a big mess, but essentially you're solving for two problems or sometimes one, depending on the person. But the reasons behind that, for menopause specifically, I'll touch on those ones because there's already a
Sure.
pretty good list of things for us to be aware of. But one is that just as we go through life, our rhythms are not as strong. And here I'm referring to our circadian rhythms and our hormonal rhythms. We have certain hormonal rhythms that are part of the circadian rhythm, which just means that they happen within a day. And then we have, of course, as women, we have our longer rhythms that is our menstrual cycle. And that rhythm also gets weaker as we go through life. So these rhythms becoming weaker impact the quality of our sleep. And that's for everyone, for men as well. Their circadian rhythm gets weaker throughout life. They just don't have the same impact as we do on their sleep because of the lowering levels of estrogens and progesterone. So those specifically impact sleep as well. Progesterone has a calming effect on our system, and that's one of the things that we feel when it starts to go down. Especially, there can also be differences depending on the ratio between your progesterone and your estrogen.
Mhm.
Also, estrogen is estrogens. There's multiple types of estrogen. And estrogen is also going down, of course, during menopause. And so that also has a role in our sleep on its own. So
Yeah.
the things that we feel, did you have a question you
No, go
wanted to
ahead. Yeah,
slide in
keep
there?
going. This is
Okay.
fascinating.
So the things that we feel when our hormones start to change in this way is that we might have more trouble regulating our temperature. We might become more sensitive to blood sugar fluctuations and to the effect in our body of alcohol. Um,
Darn it.
I know, right? I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything when I did my little brain dump earlier.
Yeah.
And it can also impact our mood. So we might feel a little bit more brain fog or lower mood at times or more anxiety at times than we're used to dealing with. And so all of those things together impact our sleep. Actually, the last one that I forgot to mention there is that going through menopause makes us more susceptible to sleep apnea, which is not specifically a sleep problem. It's a breathing problem, but it happens during sleep. So then again, it's impacting the quality of our sleep. That would show up more in making someone have trouble staying asleep, not so much with the falling asleep. And it doesn't show up as obvious with women as it does with men. Like we might have this idea, people with sleep apnea are like big men who snore really loud, right?
Mhm.
But with women, it can be a lot more subtle. You're not necessarily snoring like a lawnmower, and you're not necessarily obese, and you're not necessarily, snoring loudly and waking up your partner. So it can be more subtle for us, which is where testing comes in, just to take a look at what's happening with your breathing at night.
Is
Um,
that because the softening of the muscles or relaxing of the muscles, is that why we end up with sleep apnea? And I would imagine more in that menopause, postmenopausal stage, once the hormone levels have dropped and leveled out. Is that the
yeah.
case? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of the effects of our lowered estrogen is that we don't have, or we have a little bit more trouble keeping muscle tone. And then when we're asleep, our muscles are relaxed. And if we are missing some of that muscle tone, they relax even more. And then that just impacts the position of your tongue, jaw, airways, and ends up impacting our breathing. Yeah, so
Yeah,
we've
I don't know that our audience, I certainly didn't think about that, sleep being an issue and muscles relaxing around that area either. So good to know. Some of the other things that you mentioned, the body temperature, we've talked about on prior podcast, and the sensitivity to alcohol. I certainly know that firsthand. It's, a glass of wine will not make for a good night's sleep any
yeah,
longer. But you also say, Lauren, that sleep is not something that you do, it's something that you create. And I love this because I think through our earlier years, we certainly took sleep for granted. We just assumed that we were going to get a good night's sleep. We would go to bed, we'll get up, we'll feel great. And for some listeners, I know that the sleep challenge during menopause can be extremely frustrating. So, what do you mean when you say we create a good night's sleep? What does that look like to create instead of do?
yeah. So in general, and this applies outside of menopause as well, that sleep is the rest side of our circadian rhythm, or sleep is the repair side of our circadian rhythms. When we're alive, we're moving, we're using our body, we're creating new memories, and then we need to sleep so that we can repair our body, strengthen it, and put these memories into the places where they belong in our brain, and even repair emotions. And we have to do that when we're asleep. And this is part of our 24-hour cycle. And so we create this quality sleep by doing the things in the daytime that strengthen our circadian rhythm.
Mm.
And we can look to, well, this comes from a lot of people thinking, okay, the thing I need to do to have a good sleep is my bedtime routine or what I do right
Mhm.
before bed. But actually, we start creating our sleep for the following night, the moment that we wake up. So if we get up at the same time each day, that helps to have better quality sleep. If we're getting bright light in the first hour or two of the day, that really helps because bright light, even if you go outside on a cloudy day, the light is still so much brighter. The amount of lux that you get is so much more than you could ever create with your indoor lighting. And even if you're in front of a window, not all of the same rays come through the glass.
Mm.
So getting bright light helps actually to turn off the signal where we're creating melatonin. So it says, hey, pineal gland, we're not creating melatonin anymore. We're actually going to make serotonin.
Mm.
And when we get a good amount of light in the first part of the day, or any part of the day, but the first part of the day really helps us set up our rhythms. It gives us more serotonin to enjoy our day. And it also gives us more serotonin to create melatonin with later at night.
Mm.
So what we do during the day helps to create our sleep at night. And in our adult lives, we're so indoors, we're often, running errands, we're stuck to technology, and
Oh,
we're not
that's what
doing
I'm
things.
thinking. I'm like, oh my goodness, that first morning walk with the dog is actually a bonus in many ways, right?
Yeah, exactly. Your dog is totally helping your circadian rhythm. And so when I work with someone, I'm really looking at what opportunities do we have to create deeper quality sleep during
Mhm.
the daytime? So, I mean,
Yeah.
what can we do during the day to make sleep more effortless at night? Because we all know that when you lie down to sleep, if it's not coming, the more that you try to sleep, the more that you're awake, because trying just makes you more alert, and sleep doesn't like that. So,
Oh, goodness. Yeah. We try, and we just can't get out of our head. I know you have a list of changes that women can make in order to get a good night's sleep. What do you usually suggest?
so the things that I'll talk about will refer to those specific menopause challenges that I mentioned in your
Great.
a few minutes ago. And so strengthening your circadian rhythm will really be getting up at the same time each day, even if you didn't have your favorite sleep last night. Keeping that same wake up time just helps to create more predictable sleep moving forward. And then getting good light in the morning, getting some movement, and getting away from bright lights and white, blue quality lights in the evening. So after the sun goes down, create like romantic restaurant vibe in your
Your famous
home.
Italian restaurant, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And when you go on a date and it is in this dimly lit restaurant, there's maybe some soft music playing and you're cozy
Yeah.
and you do feel relaxed. And that's part of why you enjoy your date. But if we can create that same environment at home, it actually helps to lower our cortisol to help
Okay.
us have a better sleep. So it's not just that the dim lighting feels cozy, it's that it creates a cozy feeling because of its impact on our hormones. So it'll boost our melatonin and lower your cortisol, which is perfect for leading up to bedtime.
And can you
With
share with our audience really quick before you move on? I know what cortisol is, but maybe not all of our listeners understand what cortisol does to our bodies. Can you just spend a second here
yeah,
explaining
yeah.
that?
So cortisol gets a bad reputation because it's called the stress hormone. And so we think, oh, cortisol is bad, but we need cortisol for life. It's really our alertness hormone or one of them. So what we want is this spike of cortisol in the morning, and then it goes down throughout the day. It does peak a little bit in the evening again, but not as much as in the morning. And then it comes back down and it's at its lowest point while we're sleeping, ideally.
Mhm.
Um, and we can do that through the light that I mentioned. Cortisol in our body responds to light. It
Mm,
responds to stressors as well. So you can think of that in the same way. If you have a stressor that you need to deal with, or that you want to journal about, or that you want to talk to someone about, if you can do that processing earlier in the day and not right
mm.
before bed, because we tend to save stuff like that for right
Yeah.
before bed. And then our hormones are like, you're so.
Yes, I'm thinking about that. Like, gosh, how many times did I journal to get out of my head right before bedtime when I could have been doing that when I got up? Great, great step. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for
Yeah.
taking that side trip with me there on cortisol.
No.
What are some of the other changes that we can make in order for a better night's sleep?
Yeah. So for us women and for our health in general, we want to have really well managed blood sugar. And this becomes more challenging as we go through life, especially if our previous lifestyle left us a little bit pre-diabetic, like our insulin levels are a little bit more delicate. So the best ways to do that, other than avoiding refined sugars and that kind of thing, is to give yourself really good portions of protein rich foods and foods rich in healthy fats. Healthy fats are really just the fats that are already in food, without adding a bunch of extra, especially without adding seed oils or anything called vegetable oil, because
Okay.
there's no such thing as vegetable oil. It's a marketing
Mm.
marketing ploy. Yeah, so if you can eat foods that are a good source of protein, good source of fat, and then have your carbohydrates be fibrous ones, which are typically just unrefined carbohydrates, like anything in its whole form is going to be the better version for our blood sugar.
Okay.
And there are things you can do if you know your blood sugar is sensitive. You can get a continuous glucose monitor. In the US, you can order them from a bunch of companies online, and it's normally a month, like a month-long system that'll show up. Or in Canada, from the pharmacy, you can buy the Dexcom system without a prescription.
Okay.
Um, Costco might even have them too, someone told
Okay.
me.
Okay. Yeah, great.
Yeah. The Dexicom one, I think it's like only 10 days long and it's $100, so it's not the cheapest thing. But if you just want to learn about how is my body responding when I eat certain things, then it shows you real time your blood sugar after you've eaten and in the time, in the few hours after. So that can just give you information as to which foods are helping you with your blood sugar management and which ones aren't. And then it doesn't mean you never ever have the ones that aren't ideal for you, but it means you can be more mindful and make choices, right?
Especially before dinner or before bedtime. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if that night of sleep is extra important to you. Sometimes we're like, tomorrow's Saturday and tonight's a big celebration and I'm just going to do what I want to do. And other times you have a big meeting the next day and that knowledge is power to set yourself up for success when you
Mm,
want to. Yeah.
great.
Um, I wanted to touch on temperature, because that's a big one for us.
Absolutely. Body temperature.
Yeah, yeah. So for
Body
sleep,
temperature.
yeah, body temperature. So for sleep, of course, we can adjust the temperature in our room and make that a little bit cooler than your normal room temperature. That helps with our circadian rhythm, because if we didn't live in such a structured home, we would have naturally a
Mhm.
little bit cooler at night. And then the type of material that our PJs are made out of and that our bedding is made of make a big difference, because anything synthetic is like a plastic and it holds in our heat and it makes us more sweaty. It's not going to be breathable. It's not going to let the heat out when we get too hot. So if we can make sure that our bedding is all natural fibers, then that can help. And be careful of things that call themselves like 100% cotton or 100% bamboo, because things
Mhm.
have really misleading names. Like I bought a set of sheets that said 100% cotton, and then I realized that the name of the company was 100% cotton and the sheets
Ah,
were
okay.
polyester.
Okay. So 100% cotton is actually good. You just have to make sure that it truly is 100% cotton. So when you say all natural fibers, we're talking about cotton, we're talking about bamboo, but just making sure that indeed what you're buying, you're getting. You thought you were getting, right? Do your homework.
Yeah.
Verify. Okay.
Yeah, same thing with the bamboo. There's some stuff that will say bamboo sheets, and then when you look at it, it's synthetic sheets made to feel like bamboo sheets.
Mm,
So just look at what the fiber, like what the material is actually made out of.
good.
Linen is good too, or tencel is another natural fiber. It's becoming a bit more popular. It's more silky naturally. Silk is a natural one as well.
Okay.
Um, and then we can do things to trick our body's internal temperature regulation. So having a quick shower before bed, a hot shower, but just a fast one, like 5 minutes-ish or even less, will heat up your body's skin. And then when you get out of the shower, the water cools on your skin, and then your blood vessels bring that cooler air inwards. So it actually helps to cool your core temperature. Same
Okay.
thing with like there's a lot of fads now around like sauna and anyway, stuff like that, like hot and cold therapy.
Yeah,
So
I
if
was
you're
thinking
doing,
that too, like hot cold therapy and yeah.
yeah, so you can do your hot therapy in the evening, but if you're going to get really warm, like in a sauna, you'd want that to be at least an hour away from bedtime so that you have time for your core temperature to drop. If it's just a quick shower, it can be within an hour. But same thing with like a longer bath. You can move that a little bit earlier if you can.
Okay,
Then it
good to
gives you
know.
time.
So
Yeah.
cold shower before bed. It's the hot warm shower so that when you get out, your body temperature, it brings your body temperature down then is what you're saying. Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're in a cold shower, yes, you'll feel cool, but if you're in the cold shower long enough to shiver, now your body has created a response of warming itself
Yeah.
up.
Yes. Trying to heat the body
So
up, of course. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Makes sense.
Another little tip that I just liked, I lived in Costa Rica for 2.5 years, and this is one thing that really helped me there on a hot night, is just having a wet face cloth in a bowl beside my bed. Um, and like just it doesn't matter the temperature because it'll just turn to room temperature throughout the night. But if I wake up hot, then I just would dampen maybe my chest and upper back or arms or belly, and then just having a little bit of wetness on my skin would cool off my skin, and it has that same effect. It will cool your internal temperature. So it can be really nice if you're saying, Lauren, but I wake up hot like 5 hours later.
Yeah, I know, I know. It's so hard, with the hot flashes and the body temperature, and everyone is different. Everyone experiences them at different levels and different intervals and intensity as well. So the
Yeah.
hot or the towel, the washcloth beside the bed, I think is a fantastic idea. And I really wouldn't have thought about taking a warm hot shower before bed. I probably would have jumped in a cold shower. I think if I think back, I think I did that. And not knowing that I was making it worse. So really, really, really good tips. We we hear that oftentimes women will go see their healthcare practitioners, especially if they are struggling sleeping, and it's that compound effect. Now it's not 1 or 2 nights of lack of sleep, but now we're looking at weeks, right? And there is this sense, I've been there myself, the sense of desperation, like I have got to get some sleep. And then we make our way to our healthcare professionals for advice, and oftentimes we hear that they're dismissed, their concerns are dismissed. Or we want sleeping pills prescribed, right? Here's your sleeping pill prescription. What do you normally suggest if you run into situations like that with your clients? When you hear that, what would you recommend they do?
Uh, yeah, it is common even if someone has a good GP, like your general practitioner, they're not going to be the expert in every single topic. They have a big job where they're they're supposed to know everything.
Right.
But and they hear a lot of complaints about sleep and hormones, and they're not the full experts in those areas. So if your regular family doctor hasn't referred you out to anyone, then I would ask them to do that. You can also look for private guidance, like a sleep coach. That was what I offered. I still offer. And they're getting to be more sleep coaches now because in coaching, we can spend so much time with you, whereas your doctor can spend a pretty limited time with you. And it doesn't mean that you can't use medications if you feel like that's helping you right now, but it means that like someone working with me would learn how to create the sleep that they want to have. And then in instances where that's not working, I might suggest go back to your doctor and ask to have this tested, or if your doctor's not open to that, then find a naturopathic doctor, or even a menopause practitioner. So there are specific, I'm sure you maybe talked
Yeah,
about
it's great. Yeah,
certain
there are a
NAMS
lot more.
practitioners.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. If you've never had your hormones tested and you have, a suspicion that your hormones are changing and sleep is one of those things, then I would definitely have your hormones tested and just see if there's anything in that realm that could be helpful for you. The hormonal treatments, from what I know of when I worked at the clinic, because we had a NAMS practitioner there, and we made compound hormones for women in different forms. We generally recommended cream, and with a good practitioner, they'll be able to really tailor the dose to you. They can make sure that it's bioidentical hormone and not hormones from horse, which is in some of the other medications. They're a little bit harder on our body. And then you can ask them any questions that you have about fears about cancer and hormone supplementation and all of this. So
Yeah.
yeah, different types of support is available, and your family doctor or your GP, they're not going to have all of that under their belt.
Yeah.
But they should be able to refer you out. There are some cognitive behavioral therapy referrals that your doctor can give out. I'm speaking about Canada now because I don't know about in the
Yeah,
US.
and we do have CBT here as well. And I know that the Menopause Society in the States sanctions that as something that is extremely helpful and has been proven helpful for menopause symptoms, managing menopause symptoms as well. And even outside of menopause, right? CBT can be extremely helpful for many things. So, a huge believer in CBT for sure. And I think you bring up a good point too. You know, we have fantastic GPs and healthcare professionals all over the world, including here in the States, and they do a fantastic job taking care of their patients. And yet they may not have a broad, in-depth knowledge of everything, right? They can't be everything to everyone. And so finding that specialist, finding that referral, getting that referral to someone that might understand it at a greater depth is really important if you're still struggling. And I also want to side note too for listeners that we aren't saying that sleeping pills are bad here. There is a time and a place for them, and they can be extremely helpful. And that's why we see professionals to help guide us through this process, right? Oftentimes, those sleep medications can help bridge until we can get to a point where we can make some of these lifestyle changes in our lives that you suggested and get us back on that normal rhythm. So, really important information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little note about medications. But in coaching, I obviously don't um, give it specific advice on medications, but generally they're made for short-term use. There is no medication that improves sleep quality. The medications that we have for sleep are sedatives, and they help us to get to sleep, like they'll help you pass out.
Right.
But they're not
Get you
gonna,
to sleep, right?
yeah, but they're not gonna help improve the quality of your sleep. That is really where you have to take control and do those lifestyle things. That's where coaching can be really helpful. And then oh, I had another piece to that, but I forget.
Okay,
I
yeah.
forget now.
Fog.
Um,
Here we are.
yeah.
Yeah, it goes
But
back to that creating, though, right? I think that you were talking about before, coming back to that creating that space for good sleep. We have to do some work on our part to build that Italian restaurant environment and implement some of those other things that you recommended. Is there anything else that you would like for our audience to know? If you were in our audience, you were listening to this podcast and you were having trouble sleeping and you tuned in for, the 20, 30 minutes for this episode, what would you want to take away? Is there anything that you would tell our audience and our listeners?
uh, in general, the takeaway is to listen to your animal part of your body, get outside, get in nature, move your body, get some more exercise, just get really in tune with what your body's asking you to do. I've had clients say things to me like, when I lie down to go to sleep, I get this vision of me running. I'm like, well, then run. Like your body is asking you to move your butt, right? And
Oh,
we don't because maybe we don't like it or we're too busy or we never gave ourselves permission, especially women, if they're the main family caretaker, then you put a lot on your plate and some of us don't make that time for exercise. But it's really, really important as we get into our years where our hormones are changing because it becomes more difficult to rebuild muscle strength later when our estrogen is very low. Doesn't mean that if you're at that point in your life right now that the
that's
exercise
still good
isn't
news.
still
Yeah.
benefit. Yeah, that exercise will also help you with your cortisol regulation. It'll help you with your temperature regulation and with your metabolism. And those things will all help with good sleep. Exercise specifically helps to boost deep sleep. So your sleep will just come more naturally, as long as you're not exercising right before bed.
Right, right.
So, and the timing of everything. Um, has an impact. I did have one other thought about the temperature that I wanted to suggest, and that's if temperature is a big challenge for someone, it can be worth looking into those sleep systems for temperature regulation. The like best of the best is the 8 sleep system, and then there's also this company that they keep changing their name, but it was Chili Sleep. I think it's called Sleep Me now. They recently changed it to Sleep Me. But they have a couple of different products. It's basically a mattress topper that with
Oh,
8 sleep,
okay.
you can get the full mattress or you can get a mattress topper. And it helps to regulate your temperature throughout the night. It helps, it can react to you if you start getting hot, it can react to you and it can cool you down. They typically bring your temperature lower in the middle of the night and then raise your temperature again towards the time when you want to get up because that helps you wake up naturally.
Okay.
Yeah. And they are a little bit more expensive, especially the really good ones. But if it will help you feel better every day, then it's probably worth it. And you can take your time to research it and save up, even if you save up over a year or two.
Yeah, yeah,
Give yourself.
exactly. I was going to say, just save a little bit every month if you can, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
With our
exactly.
mattresses, I feel like if we don't spend a little bit on the mattress, if we can afford it, we're not getting as good a night's sleep as we possibly could. So worth it in the long run. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Tell us how people can find you if they want more information on sleep coaching or just sleep in general.
Yeah, on my website, you can find out about what I'm offering and you can send me a little message through the website as well. You can also email me directly, which is Lauren at coachingforinsomniacs.com. That's the name of the website. And then you can find me on LinkedIn or on Instagram, just using my name, which will be in the show notes, Lauren Duffel. And yeah, I feel like I'm pretty approachable. You can send me a message anytime through any of those mediums and and
Yeah.
I'll respond happily.
You're pretty easy to talk to. I'll I'll put a seal of approval on that. It's just been a joy talking to you. So coachingforinsomniacs.com, right? Okay. We'll put that in the show notes. So let's have a little bit of fun because we always do a rapid fire at the end of our podcasts just to get you to know you a little bit better. So why
Okay.
don't we start with coffee or tea? Are you a coffee or tea gal?
Tea. I love my herbal teas. I mentioned to you before we started recording that I have a condition called dystonia and it makes me very sensitive to caffeine. So I'm a zero caffeine girl and there's so much fun in the realm of herbal teas. So
Yeah, yeah.
go
There's
to.
wonderful herbal teas out there, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so hard copybook or e-reader?
Oh, I like hard copybook.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Me too. Love to hold it, love to dog ear, right? Yeah. Takes up
yeah,
some space, but hey, it's okay. Just give the books. How about
yeah.
flowers or plants?
Plants. For me, I think I have almost 30 plants in my house.
Oh, wow.
Because
All
I love the
right. Then I
hygiene.
need to take lessons from you, Lauren. I just water them and hope that they grow.
Me too. If they die, hey, it's not the one for me.
Oh, okay. I like your attitude. All right. So, last thing that we always ask all of our guests, what is the best piece of advice that you have ever received?
Uh,
Just a piece of advice.
yeah. Mm, I'd say for my business, I had when I worked in the hotel industry, I had this one of the senior managers there, he just became kind of a mentor to me. I don't know. I don't know why, but he kind of scooped me up. And then when I started working in nutrition, and I was trying to learn how to grow my business and all of this, and I was trying to get all fancy with, things I could sell online. He's like, Lauren, the most valuable thing you can sell is your time and your presence, and like stop trying to make it complicated.
I actually love that. Just your time and your presence. And I feel like that is so true, Lauren. Just to be here for people and to listen is a gift, right? Yeah, I love that. We keep saying that we need to build the list and then put that whole list on best piece of advice that you've ever received from our podcast guests out on our blog. So we'll add that to that. I love that. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. We're going to put your contact information in show notes. And I sure hope that anyone that is listening, if you're struggling with sleep in midlife and menopause, that we have given you some helpful tips to help you even tonight to create that good night's sleep. So that is a wrap. Until next time, go find joy in the journey. Take care, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Medovia Menopause Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for future episodes, leave a review, and share this episode with a friend. There are more than 50 million women in the U.S. who are navigating the menopause transition. The situation is compounded by the presence of stigma, shame, and secrecy surrounding menopause, posing significant challenges and disruptions in women's personal and professional spheres. Medovia is out to change the narrative. Learn more at medovia.com. That's MIDOVIA.com.